streaming. There we go, and we're streaming.
We usually like to give the YouTubers a couple of extra minutes on the front and back end and say thanks for tuning in as though we were a TV show.
Yeah, right? Like we're some kind of real deal here.
And we're not, but
it's
fun to pretend.
Ragtag idiots. Let's see. I need to
start retweeting.
Yep, I was going to say I gotta hit the Twitter button here. So, Sherwin, do some entertainment.
Do some talking? Yeah. So, Amber, will you be back for the game on Saturday?
Oh, heck yeah.
Okay, good. That's the right response.
Oh,
let me shut this phone up first. Cool. So do you come back, you'll come back Friday night or Saturday morning?
I'll go back Saturday morning with all my family because we all go to my family has season tickets. I actually sit with them. I don't even sit in the student section anymore. I'm like a grandma.
Cool.
Nice. What section do you sit in?
We sit in 225.
225. Okay. We're in 110, and we've been there for going on a decade.
Yeah, this is our 9th season.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
So.
Do y'all sit together?
Yep. We sit right next to each other like a couple lovebirds.
Yeah, we kicked the...
I'm hoping once I'm an old graduate that I can get better seats in those 200 sections.
Oh, man. Well, come sit with us.
Well,
we get the right amount of rowdy.
Yeah.
You know?
One of the things that's awesome about the way the point system works is, and I don't get to take advantage of this, but Rusty does, because he's actually a graduate. You'll get 10 athletic points as soon as you cross the stage in commencement, and that will shoot you up the list. But based on what I understand about the last 9 years is, as long as you're willing to donate a little bit of money in addition to buying your tickets, you can get some pretty good seats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's see. So one thing that will be a little weird that I still haven't figured out is that we're going to play our theme song. We're going to do some intros and stuff. And for whatever reason, while the theme song is playing that we're doing, it will completely cut audio to you, and you will not be able to hear us for 30, 45 seconds, something like that. So if you just stay with us, I promise we're still there, and we'll move on.
Are we doing
there.
the regular intro, or are we going to play like Ramblin' Wreck song?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yes.
Oh man, she's saying yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the band feed is public.
Let's see.
Access.
Let's
we don't
see. I got
have
to
worry
this
about
quick
trademark.
if I do it.
Sorry for the last second.
No.
suggestion.
I mean, it's totally. I thought we did this last year or something.
I mean, y'all could just sing it.
That's true.
We know all the words.
Yeah.
Thanks to being in a fraternity, you pretty much have to.
Yeah. Let's see. Ramblin' Wreck from Georgia Tech. Let's see if we have the band. Oh, wow.
Intros.
There's like verse 4 here, verse 5. All right, let's see.
Verse, all of them.
We'll see if this one works. This is weird. Come on. All right. Yeah, we'll do that.
That sounds good.
Were you able to hear that at all?
I didn't hear it, no.
Okay.
Okay. We're still trying to sort that feedback loop out. It's weird. Sometimes people can, sometimes people can't.
Okay. All right. Well, I should have it right there then. All right. So we will issue our normal one and piss off all of the Georgia fans.
Oh yeah, they'll all be madder than hell. You know, they've been pretty good sports for the most part, though.
Yeah.
Somebody gave me some shit a couple weeks ago because I said something about having beaten them last year. He's like, "All right, take it easy on that," and I'm like, "It's cool. I mean,
we only get to celebrate that for like 2 more days.
I mean, like,
come
take
on,
a look
let's
at the
be real.
record. Like, you guys have been having like a pretty cool 40 years.
Way, so let us have it.
Right. Let me have that one for just a little longer. All right. I think I am ready to roll. Sherwin, are you ready to roll?
Yeah, I'm doing my best to like navigate this phone stuff. But yeah,
What are you doing on the phone?
I'm just retweeting, but
okay.
I can't.
You need a minute?
No, I do not.
Okay.
I will revert attention immediately.
All right. Amber, are you ready to roll?
Ready.
All right. Like I said, the audio may cut out for a moment, but we'll be right back with you. Here goes nothing. Hit and play. Or you know what? I'm trying to think. Okay, nope. Let's do that. Here we go. Hit and play or hit and record now. A little different, Sherwin?
A little bit. Just a little bit. Hate week. I'm hell of an engineer. Hey!
Welcome, y'all! That's right. This is the Pregame Engineer Tailgate Mayor Racing Podcast, episode number 122. We may have a little bit different song today, but y'all see why it's going to be a blast tonight. It's Tuesday, November 21st, 2017. I'm Tailgate Mayor Rusty Wallace. I'm joined in the PTM Podcast studio with Pregame Engineer Andrew Sherwin. What's up, dude?
And I don't have nearly as good a radio voice, but this is Andrew Sherwin, Pregame Engineer. I'm happy to be here.
Well,
and Sidney Lett, we can give you your space back at the end of the show.
Yeah, we'll do that. As always, y'all, the PTM Podcast is sponsored by you. That's right. You go to patreon.com/PTM, join the What You Drink Club for as little as $1 a month. Get your free koozie. Best part is, every cent in 2017, we're donating to sponsoring drivers. So join the PTM Posse today. Be a part of the sport you love. This week's show is brought to you, as always, by our official sponsors at the $5 and up per month level. That's Catherine Kingston, Ashley Stang, Harry Bolzano, Mark Wiley, Greg Smulders, Mick Rose, Robert Keplinger, Tony Salt, Kobe McClam, Eric Kepner, Ryan Kiefer, Marilyn Best, Patrick Cleary, Aaron Bearden, Jeff Brown, Chad Sterling, and welcome to the PTM Posse. We're playing it again. Why not?
Revert.
Welcome to the PTM Posse. Laura Henshaw with a $20 Patreon donation.
That was pretty huge.
That is awesome. So thank you, Laura. Let's get this thing started. We have a guest tonight, Sherwin, and I'm telling you, this is the most perfect guest that we've ever had. And
timing-wise and for other reasons.
For every reason, and I'll tell y'all why. Number one, she is a race car driver. I mean, we do a racing podcast. That lines up pretty well.
Right? Yeah, that lines up.
Number two, senior mechanical engineer at Georgia Tech.
That hits.
That hits. Hence why, if you're watching YouTube, we're sitting here with the Georgia Tech shirts, Georgia Tech hats, everything going. You can see her right there on screen in her gold sweater there. She's been racing since she was 9 years old, an accomplished driver in the Legends and Bandoleros series. I already said she's senior mechanical engineer at Georgia Tech. On Twitter, you can find her at Amber Fleeman 98. Welcome to the podcast, Amber Fleeman. What's up, Amber?
Hello, thanks for having me.
Oh, we are. We met. We talked about this in the pre-show, but we got a chance to meet back at Atlanta Motor Speedway earlier in the summer, Sherwin, I guess. It might have been August. And
July,
August, something like that.
July.
Yeah. And when we met, we had our handler guy that was kind of walking us around.
Brad Harrison. Man,
yeah.
Major props to him.
Yeah, he was awesome. And he kept walking us around. He's like, okay, this is this person. This is this person. And he goes, this is Amber Fleeman. She drives, she goes to Georgia Tech. And we're like, hello? And we got to talking with you, and I had a great interview, and I told Sherwin, I was like, dude, we got to have her on the show. So here we are, championship week, one of the biggest podcasts of the year for us, Amber Fleeman. So
I'm honored.
We are
biggest show.
We're so excited. So that's how we met and everything. Tell everybody about yourself. How you got into racing, what you're up to.
I got into racing because my dad has been racing since he was a little child, so I was kind of born into it. It was one of those things where it was inevitable that I said, Daddy, I want to race, and he couldn't say no because then that would have been very hypocritical. And I've been in it ever since. Chose what I want to do with my life with mechanical engineering, probably from racing. So racing is kind of in my blood.
So do you find like the mechanical engineering stuff, is there stuff that you think, having been racing for so long, that you have sort of an advantage there too?
Oh, for sure. I actually just did an interview with a magazine on Georgia Tech's campus with the College of Engineering, and it was a lot about females in STEM and that kind of stuff, and I kept over and over saying that like so many of the skills that I think that are so important for engineering these days come from hands-on experience, which I felt like I had coming into college that so many Georgia Tech students don't get. So I think they go so well hand in hand.
So I wanted to talk to you about I obviously, based on your age and how quickly you've progressed to Georgia Tech, you probably haven't co-opted because you're a racer. And that feels to me like basically the same thing as having co-op because you're working on a race car. You're figuring out physics, how to go fast, slip ratios, aero. Maybe I don't know how much aero is involved with Legends, but you're working on race cars and you're driving the car and giving feedback. To me, that's as good of a co-op job as you could possibly have.
That's funny because like it's actually on my resume as if it is an internship experience. And it's funny because I'm kind of in that interview season right now, graduating in May, and a lot of like interviewers are like, what is this? Like, this is not legit. And I explain it to them and they're like, okay, yeah, that's legit. And I was kind of on the 4-year in and out plan, so I didn't really have in the schedule to do a formal internship. It made more sense to do racing because like, hello, my life. So once I explain it, they understand, but it kind of looks a little weird on paper, but it's fine.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. I didn't process that until about 30 seconds ago. But I get it. Like if I was an interviewer and I'm saying I want someone who is a problem solver to come do whatever job it is that you're interviewing for, I'm like, yeah, I suspect you've had a lot of experience solving problems.
Right. Well, yeah, and the best part is you get trophies for solving problems. You just walk in there, slap a trophy down on the desk. Look here. Right.
I did this.
Right. No, that's awesome. We got a ton of questions for you coming up and having some fun. We do have a few things we have to run through, Sherwin. As usual.
We do have an important segment that we have to
as usual with every guest, Amber, what you drinking today?
Water, unfortunately.
That is the
most common beverage of
on
the PTM alumnus.
Yeah. Yep. You'll get your see. You're not only graduating from Georgia Tech right now, but you're about to become a PETM alum, which I mean carries almost as much weight in the interview process. Really,
clearly.
I'll put it on my resume. Got it.
Perfect. I actually don't, because then they'll come and listen. And they'll go, no, absolutely not.
Oh yeah, that's get a little sideways at times.
Yeah,
we almost always find the ditch.
Right.
Like this is not. It's not pavement racing that we're doing here on this podcast.
Right. Sherwin, what are we drinking on today? You got some stuff here.
Well, I thought it would be relevant, just like Amber's wearing her gold sweater there, and we've got all our Georgia Tech garb on, and we're not going out of our way to piss off any of our listeners who are Georgia fans or any other fan that might not like Georgia Tech, but we're taking a moment, an opportunity to
celebrate,
to think global, but celebrate local.
Yeah.
And so what we've got here and from the beer category is the Juniper IPA from Second Self, which is a brewery started in West Midtown Atlanta by 2 Georgia Tech graduates. Seems appropriate.
Boom.
And we've also got a little bit of whiskey here from a distillery that lives right next door to Sweetwater, which is Atlanta's biggest micro, well, I guess they're macro now, brewery
at this point.
Biggest local brewery. So we got that stuff going on. That's part of what we're doing here. We always like to share with our listeners what we're drinking, because we're always having a good time.
So Amber, part of our I guess college life back 15 years ago. I hate to say that. That sounds like so far along. But part of it was going to the old Sweetwater Brewery a lot, and probably part of some of the poor grades sometimes that popped up had to do with that. Is that still a thing? Do people go to the breweries nowadays?
Yes, apparently it is. I don't necessarily, but yes, a lot of my friends do.
Cool.
Well, there
good.
You have it.
We used to be able to walk to Red Brick because they used to be they're about where one of those parking decks north of Tech Square is. Mm-hmm. Williams Street is where they were, and we could walk and used to be able to bring a 6-pack of empty bottles with you. It was only on Thursdays. They usually have a live band, and you could get your entry fee to the tasting for free if you returned their bottles to them.
Oh, that's cool.
Wow.
And then they've since moved over off of DeFore
and all that stuff. Yeah. So anyway, well, all the local breweries, of course, we know where to sniff them out.
Oh yeah, easy to find.
So it's episode number 122. We're going to talk about car number 22. Sherwin, do you have any guesses in NASCAR as to who has driven the car number 22 the most?
The most?
Yes.
I confess that I did not read your notes.
Okay.
Because this has been a fun game. I would say, what if I took a wild shot in the dark and said Kurt Busch?
Kurt Busch. Interesting. Amber, any guesses?
I probably would have. I don't have a clue.
Okay. Sherwin, and I'll give you probably one of my top 3 favorite drivers/people of all time. Mr. Ward Burton, 272 races with 5
hell, in the
wins.
Caterpillar for Bill Davis.
Old Caterpillar, yeah.
That's
22
right.
car.
How did I not know that?
I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I probably wouldn't have got it, but holy cow. I love
Ward Burton.
Ward Burton. Amber, do you know anything about Ward Burton?
No.
He's a guy that just go on YouTube and search for him. He is. You could listen to him read a dictionary.
Yeah, Google Ward Burton reading the dictionary.
Apple. I mean,
Jeff
thing that falls from a tree.
He's like 6 or 7 years older than Jeff, so they almost grew up in a different era of their family. So that like they're very different. They look a lot alike, but they speak very differently.
Yeah. So rounding it out, Bobby Allison, 215 races in the 22. How many races does this guy have?
Oh, in the Miller High Life.
Yeah,
That's right.
17 wins.
Damn it. That's the car he wrecked at Talladega where he got really hurt and had to retire.
Yeah. Joey, 180 races, 16 wins. Fireball Roberts with 30 wins over 150 races. Kurt Busch, 36 races, 2 wins. Dick Brooks, 17 races, 1 win. And our spotlight driver this week, Chuck Stevenson, 1 race, 1 win in the 22.
100%.
Yeah, he's batting 1,000.
Cheers
He was
to that.
born in 1919. He drove in AAA and USAC Championship Car Series. He had 4 wins and 1 championship in those series. He's the only 2-time winner of the 2,000-mile Panamericana race, and he was doing it in a Lincoln Capri back in the 50s. He had 2 races in NASCAR. He won one of them, and won the only one. He was in the 22 car, Willow Springs Raceway in 1956. He passed away in 1995, so hats off. And drinks up for Mr. Chuck Stevenson on that one. All those names that I could have done Spotlight on, and I was like, all right, 1 for 1, I got to talk about this guy.
Yeah, 100%. Everybody have another drink. That's our drinking phrase, Amber, is 100%.
Right.
Got it.
Just in case you hit
And
it.
we actually catch a ration of poop from listeners when we don't have it happen during the episode. Like
True.
I've caught crap from, hey, man, y'all didn't have 100% during the show this week.
Oh,
like,
crap.
Okay.
Got to go back.
False advertisement, I guess.
I always like to ask drivers when they're on. Amber, do you know any car number 22s that stand out in your mind? Anybody you race against or anything like that?
Actually, at Atlanta Motor Speedway,
Mm.
I'm drawing a blank on his name, but he won championship this past 2 years, I think, in the Masters division.
Awesome.
Sweet.
Awesome. I'm going to look that up. Masters
That
Division.
should be pretty easy to find, actually.
You know what comes up first? Masters Division CrossFit. How is that?
Oh, my God.
She's shaking her head. All right, CrossFit isn't cool anymore? All right, good. Masters Division Legends?
Yes. I'm completely drawing a blank on his name.
Champ.
That's all right.
Beyond
I'll let Rusty fire away.
Atlanta.
So what is
this
next
is
on the
so-
list here?
Scott Mosley. That's
Scott
his name.
Mosley.
Scott Mosley.
All right. Number
Well,
22 car. I love
Cheers
it.
to you, Scott.
Very cool.
We got to figure out how to get him to listen.
Right. All right, so here we go. We're going to tear it down with the final race of the season, the championship. Sherwin, I'm going to play one more thing. I'm tooting the horn, dude.
Yeah!
Amber, every time we call the winner of a race, or this one I'm tooting the horn because I said Martin Truex Jr. for the championship last week. And he ends up getting it, so I blow the big foghorn thing. Sherwin, we did not blow the horn very much this year. We gotta improve next year.
Well, I think we goofed off too much during the picks to actually blow horns.
It was very fun. It's so much fun to goof off on the picks, you know?
I mean, I really like making a show of it as opposed to just going, this is who I think is going to win.
Yeah. So, Amber, first word from you. You know Martin Truex won the thing. What's your thoughts? I mean, what a great feel-good story and everything. Have you followed Truex at all, or
Yes.
yeah? Talk to us.
He was my pick from the beginning of the season.
Oh, wow.
He was my pick for the past 2 seasons, so I'm really thrilled that he got it this season for sure.
Excellent. Yeah, it's what better sort of feel good story? I mean, you can't talk about him without talking about his girlfriend and all that she's going through and everything. But
yeah, let's not gloss over that. Sherry
Yeah,
Pollux
Sherry.
has been fighting like a you-know-what
Yes.
against ovarian cancer for about 4 years now.
Yep.
And she's cycled through another round of treatment. She looks great,
Yeah.
by the way. So, I mean, they're just tough as nails. This feels like, despite the fact that some people want to say that Truex only got into racing because his daddy had money, that's not true. His daddy had money, and his daddy was a racer. Mm-hmm. And that's why Truex Jr. is in racing, because his dad loves racing. And I don't know. I could digress about this for 2 hours, so I'll just stop there and let everybody else have a comment.
I feel like NASCAR needed this, and that's
Yes.
kind of what I meant last week. Amber, what do you think?
100%.
You made me drink. Jeez.
That is the story. Oh, I said it. That is the story they needed. That is just everything about. He has the sheer talent. He has the story. Everything about him is what kind of refresher that NASCAR needed. They're trying to kind of migrate towards that younger generation, but this is a good story from that older generation. Not that he's older, but like even older than like my generation that they needed. And I think this was a phenomenal segue into like the newest generation of NASCAR.
That's a great point.
I don't want to overuse our drinking phrase, but I totally agree with you. I think the fact that Martin Truex has had the traveling career that he's had, the fact that he is, I think he's 37 or 38.
And he deserves
it. This is his first championship. He won 8 races, okay? That's phenomenal.
Goosebumps here.
I mean, we've had kudos to them for getting it all done, because we have had a 10-race winner and a 9-race winner not win the championship in the last 10 years in Hamlin and Carl Edwards. And then Kenseth won 7 and didn't win it just, 3 years ago? So kudos for Truex and his team for getting the work done needed to finish it all off. But, yeah, what a breath of fresh air.
I said it last week. For everything to be right in the universe, Martin Truex Jr. needs to win this championship.
Yes, you were right.
And everything today feels right in the universe versus really, I mean, anybody else winning, I wouldn't have this same feeling. But the feel-good story, and I don't know if you saw it on Fox, they did that, what do they call it when they combine all the radios and everything?
What is Fox? Fox calls it the Radio Sweetheart now.
Oh, no.
They used to call it Scan...
Whatever it is.
Radioactive.
Radioactive. Yeah, that thing that they do. So they did one, and it was a huge production this time. Like, it is a production this time. Y'all got to go watch it. You'll tear up. Sorry. It'll happen. You'll choke
I cried
up a
about
bit.
5 different times this weekend over Dale Jr.
Right. So, I mean, segueing in, and not to take away from Truex, but I think we talked about it so much last week about, everything. This would be everything right in the world. And guess what? Now it is. And I feel great, and we can all celebrate it. But, Dale Jr. retiring. Amber, were you a Dale Jr. fan or follower or anything like that?
So, funny story. I was actually never a Junior follower until I, got older and realized, he is pretty cool, but I was always a diehard Gordon fan, so I was very much anti-Junior, but have since changed my ways.
So that's interesting. I think there's a lot of people that have made that evolution, and it's because Junior made a big change or a big evolution of his own in sharing more of his personality with fans, like less of the. For lack of a better way of saying it, but just, upstate North Carolina redneck, and more of the really thoughtful, introspective Dale Jr. that has a lot to say about a lot of different topics, despite the fact that he really is a quiet, introverted person. Like, just learning his personality the last 5 years has been, in a word for me, fascinating.
Yeah,
it's cool to see him come out and kind of step out of his shadow of senior.
Yeah, totally agree. And Amber, what you said is exactly what I experienced, and Sherwin, you know this along the way, where I'm like, everybody's a Dale Jr. fan, whatever, and the people who are the loudest, obnoxious, whatever, and so I'm like, I can't be a fan of his, and so it turned into it goes from I can't be a fan of his because of all his fans to I don't like Dale Jr. Whatever, or I have to root against him or whatever, to what, this guy's a cool guy in spite of his friends and stuff. And like you said, over the last 5 years, and like Amber said, as you're growing up, you're like, what, this is actually a great guy too, regardless of who's rooting for him or their motivations for doing so. So yeah, I totally agree. And you put on here, what will your personal Dale Jr. legacy be? I really like that. Amber, do you want to kick us off on that one? Any personal thoughts on Junior or anything that you experienced over the years, Junior centric?
I don't know. I think you're going to see I think you're still going to see him very much in NASCAR. I think you're going to see a completely different side of him, which I think is going to be cool. I think he's going to I think it's interesting that he's talking about going to the booth, and that's very much not what he is, because he's not a really great speaker and he doesn't like to be in the spotlight a lot. So I think you're going to see a different side of Junior and a whole different realm of Earnhardt Jr., which I think is going to be cool. I'm excited to see it.
I'm speechless. Yes. Same.
Yeah.
Well, maybe me and Sherwin are staring at each other. Who goes next? What do we do? All right. We're talking about personal Dale Jr. legacy.
Legacy.
Let's see. Sherwin, I don't know. Maybe I'm stealing yours. But the very first race we went to, live in '04. Went to Atlanta Motor Speedway. Dale Jr. wins the race. I didn't at the time. Again, at the time, I didn't root for him. At the time, I didn't understand possibly what that meant in that season or along the way or whatever. It's just okay. Dale Jr. won. But looking back now to think in terms of legacy, you know what? First race I ever went to, Dale Jr. won, and that was really cool. So I think that'll be my sort of personal legacy is having been witness to that, and then over the years understanding more and more what that means.
Yeah, you can't steal something that is a shared experience. Mm. So I would say, yeah, from an anthology perspective, I think my personal Dale Jr. legacy will be he won the first race that I ever attended, mm-hmm. and that's the only race we ever saw him win. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of what Amber said is, applies as well. I'm super excited for him to be a part of the sport in a way where his obligations are really not to driving the car at all. It's more about how do I advance the sport, because I think he probably has a finger on that better than anybody up until this point, mm-hmm. how to advance the sport. Yeah.
Moving on from there, William Byron in the NASCAR Xfinity Series Championship, and takes that one. It's not that I didn't want to see him win it. It's that, boy, I felt bad for Sadler.
Yeah,
like golly, that was tough to watch, and really thought that it was Elliott Sadler's time. Amber, are you a Sadler fan at all, or William Byron?
I used to race with William Byron, so I think it's pretty cool that people I used to race with are like in that part of the sport. So I'm always for people that I've once competed with. So, but I like to stay neutral. So.
Well, that's super cool. Tell us about William Byron's racing then.
He used to race at Atlanta Motor Speedway with us, just like the rest of us. So it's been cool to watch him progress, just like Chase Elliott and all of these kids, honestly, that are in NASCAR. There's more than I can count on my hands and toes that I have literally personally raced with. And it's cool to watch all of them, like, grow up, because, I mean, he is younger than I am, and I do feel like they're not old enough to be in that part of NASCAR, but it's been really cool to watch them grow up.
Well, that's cool. Pretty cool. I'm pretty sure that's the first time we've had that perspective.
Yeah. What are some? How about this? What are some drivers besides Amber Fleeman, of course? What are some drivers to look out for right now in terms of, hey, this could be the next William Byron that you're racing against right now?
I mean, that I'm racing against right now.
Yeah, I mean, screw all those guys, right? I mean,
I'm like, it's hard to see them now because like they're just competitors.
Yeah.
But I can tell you people that I have seen come through that I know are kind of under the one in particular, and that's Daniel Hemrick. That his time to shine is coming. I promise. Mark my word. That I've watched him. He's much older than I am, but like watched him go through all of the different levels of racing, and I'm telling you, his time to shine's coming.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
So that's Xfinity Series. Onto the trucks. I mean, Chase Briscoe getting his first win with BKR, which is like,
well, I put that in there on purpose. Now
swan song.
Team is defunct and they win going out, and Brad has said he's not done being a car owner in the sport. I suspect that means that there's some relationship that he'll have in the future with Penske and some leadership role when he's done driving for that organization. But it is an interesting thing that the guy that wins the race wins it very convincingly in a fast truck. Like, those trucks aren't on the track next year. And so there's been a ton of discussion about what are we going to do with these guys that have actually run fairly well and have a glide path to more success and perhaps transferring to higher divisions. What are we supposed to do when somebody who, for lack of a better way of saying it, we perceive to be as rich, can't run the race team the way that the business needs to be run and still keep the trucks on the track?
Yeah. Amber, I'm wondering from like a Legends point of view, what's the state of the sport there with some insider knowledge here that you have?
Everything you just said is 100% correct, that the sport, it's going to a totally different like money is controlling a lot of the sport now, and that's kind of how it's going, and technology is a large part of that. So I think you're going to see kind of a shift in how things are done. You're going to see these bigger teams, and it is. I remember when BKR first announced that they weren't going to have a team next year, and we're all like you said, that's a team that you look out for. That's like Kyle Busch's truck team. Like, how do you have a sport without like these big name teams? I think in the Legends, you definitely see these teams that are coming, and you've got one team, multiple drivers that are not really related, which is definitely not how I grew up in racing. Like, I've very much grown up in a family team. It's been me and my dad my whole life. So it's you even see it in the Legends racing for sure. So I'm curious to see how it plays out in the next like 5-ish years with the generation that's like just starting in bandos that are going to go to Legends soon, because I've kind of seen it go from individual family teams all the way to these big teams, which are definitely dominating at the time.
So let me ask you this, and you don't have to out your own team as what amount of money that you spend, because that's not important. But just being you're racing in the field, you have had a bit of success yourself, and you understand what the costs of racing are. What does it cost in the semi-pro series that you've raced in? What does it cost to be competitive? What do you think is a season spend for a car that has a chance at top fives and a win across a 10-week season?
Before you answer, like the type of thing, I think Brad Keselowski, we've said it before with his team, said if you want a competitive truck team, it's going to cost $2 million. Like, and that's kind of just that's not saying what he spent necessarily, but that's the cost of that type of thing. So yeah that's I'm curious what a similar number might be in the stuff you're racing in.
I mean, being the engineering person I am, like I can't think of a perfect number for you off the top of my head, but I would definitely say that like to be competitive at multiple racetracks and not just kind of locally how we do it, and to be competitive everywhere you go, you're looking at tens of thousands of dollars every year just to run a Legends car. Wow. Easy.
Yeah.
So,
well, that makes sense. Just even
traveling.
I was going to say just traveling between the places and staying wherever you can stay. I mean, that's simple. Sherwin, the travel that I do for work just to go to the various offices, if you add up all my travel receipts, shoot, that's going to be $10,000. Easy. I don't travel.
I had an $800 hotel bill 3 weeks ago.
yeah.
When I went to Austin, Texas.
Yeah, do that a few more times. Just getting back on it real quick. Christopher Bell winning the championship in the truck series. I don't think there's. I don't know what to say. That's a cool story. I like it.
He's been the best.
That's what it is.
Season.
He's just been the best.
He's in the best truck, and he is the best.
Yeah.
Now, however much those two overlap, that Venn diagram would be impossible to actually measure, but it'd be interesting to know. Christopher Bell's he's been fire in everything he's sat in. He's another one of those. He's a Larson type.
Yeah.
Coming from the dirt. He's come from non-wing sprint cars, which are evidently impossible to drive. So if you can, you're like, your car control is immeasurable on the high end of the scale. So, yeah, he's going to be good. He's going to be really good because he's going to be in JGR equipment his entire career.
Yeah. So, Amber, that brings us to, we're out of talking about last week. Let's talk about you for a bit. I asked about the state of the sport. Why don't you tell us? So, this was a question that we had asked another driver driving some similar series, but I really like to know kind of the different types of cars you're driving and the difference between like Legends, Bandoleros, that type of stuff that you feel while you're on the track, and that sort of stuff. I'll stop talking.
So I have raced everything from a Bandolero car to a Pro Challenge car to the Legend car, and I have not yet raced, but I have practiced an Asphalt Late model car and soon to be practicing a Dirt Late model car. So I'm seeing a little bit of everything as far as that goes, and I also started in go-karts, but like we don't even have to count that. But so I've seen definitely both surfaces. I've seen all different kinds of racetracks, small and large. I will tell you what your Cadillac is. That's an Asphalt Late model, and your cardboard box is a Legend car. So those are your two big differences there. The Legend cars are much more fun to race. They are a handful to drive, but they're fun to race. They definitely cost a lot less than a late model, so when you destroy them, it doesn't hurt the pocket as bad as a late model does. And they've done that one. And then the Bandolero cars are pretty much just like a glorified go-kart. They're a good teacher for like racing skills, but beyond that, you kind of exhaust the knowledge you're going to acquire from those cars after a certain amount of time.
What's the handling like and the speed like for all of the difference in all of those that you've driven?
The Legend car definitely has the largest power to weight ratio. So I remember when I first got a Legend car, my dad said, "Don't nail the throttle, you will spin out." Sure enough, if you hit the throttle hard enough, you will spin out. But so those are interesting because you just feel like you're flying on air because they're so light in comparison to how much power they have. A late model is just like a whole different feel because you've got all this body motion in addition to just freaking flying. And the Pro Challenge car is kind of a mixture between the two. Similar speed to weight ratio is a Legend car, but not quite as dramatic. And again, the Bandolero car is just a glorified go-kart, so not really much there. But
yeah, I think so. What we've heard about the Legends car and why that series translates so well to learning how to be a stock car racer is how much power you have and how you can't put it all down at the same time or you're going to be in trouble.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes. I have watched so many kids get in a Legend car and just spin out.
Yeah. So, and I think I looked at some specs. I always used to think that the motor package you were racing in that series was a 600cc Kawasaki, but it's not. It's actually a 1200.
It is.
And it's probably making, what would you say, 120 or 130 horsepower?
Somewhere in those numbers, yes.
And it only weighs like 700 pounds.
Jeez.
1,300, but...
Oh, okay. So I was off a little bit there. So almost 2,000 pounds. But that horsepower to weight ratio is pretty incredible.
It's crazy, and you feel it.
And so you're driving some dirt too. How about the transition to dirt? And I mean, obviously the grip issue and all that, but other things that you've noticed with that.
We actually haven't made that transition yet. We just got the seat in, so I actually haven't drove it yet, but I'm very excited to do it. I think I'm probably the most eager out of everyone on the team. We have some people that are very hesitant and skeptical about putting me in the car, but I'm excited. I'm excited to see something different. The Legend cars are fun, but dirt racing is my favorite thing in the whole wide world, so I'm excited to kind of try that out and see something different.
So you used the word there. You used the word team there. Tell us about your team and what that story is. So
it depends on what day as to what people I include in the team. But most of the time I'm just referring to my dad and I. But we definitely do have a full-time crew chief. Around the shop, his name is Mumbles, but his name is actually Jeff. If you spoke to him, you would know why his name is Mumbles. But definitely my mom was always involved in everything. She's probably the most skeptical about any kind of new car transition, but clearly, 12 years later, she kind of gets overruled most of the time, unfortunately. But my boyfriend definitely has a huge part on the team. And there's also a couple other family friends that are definitely considered part of the team that are also probably on that skeptical bandwagon. But again, they just don't matter.
That's funny.
That's right.
So I don't know if I'm leapfrogging anything Rusty wants to ask you. I'm just going to do it because this is the way I roll. But are you going to race next summer? And if so, where? Or
fingers crossed. We'll see how employment looks. If I have to start a big girl job, then probably not. But
well, so that's a good transition too, because I know we wanted to talk about this because this is one of the things we talked about in the brief time that we got to spend with you at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Are you targeting jobs in racing as a professional in your interview process now?
I am not specifically. I'm definitely not opposed to it. That would be ideal, but location is kind of an issue. Racing is kind of far away from Georgia, unfortunately, not very prevalent thing in Georgia. You got to go more towards North Carolina, and little old homebody Amber is not really willing to move. So, but definitely not against it. I have definitely considered going more into the less team-based racing industry and more like research and development for one of the big manufacturers. So I'm definitely looking all over, very not specific anywhere right now.
Well, one thing I'll tell you from experience, because old Rusty homebody here as well, is all my family was here, and so I put down my anchor and I bought a house here, and then suddenly everybody moved. My parents moved, my sister moved, everybody moved away from me thousands of miles. So, I'm like, hey, how about this guy? What happened? So, anyway. I'm struggling for words here. Where during your season, where do you race at? What are some of the like premier tracks that you're racing in during the season?
So definitely during the summer, the past several years we've been almost 100% Atlanta Motor Speedway. Every Thursday for Thursday Thunder. We love going to Anderson Motor Speedway. It's a really fast racetrack on Friday nights. But depending on how much stuff we tear up on Thursday nights, it's almost impossible to make it on Friday nights. We are at the dirt track almost every weekend during the summer, and then it definitely tapers off once I go back to school because unfortunately I do have to put school above racing, which stinks, but it is the thing.
Yeah.
No, go ahead, Sherwin.
Well, so I was going to say, I know Dixie hosts a big super late model race. Have you ever been up there, or do you have any plans?
I've actually seen once, maybe twice at Dixie. It's a really cool racetrack. We actually were just up in Gaffney, South Carolina at Cherokee this past weekend. And the first time I had seen that racetrack, it is bad fast and a really cool racetrack.
I drive by that track all the time. I drove by it last week because I drive from Atlanta to north of Charlotte probably about once a month. And I drive by two dirt tracks that look really cool. One of them is in Blacksburg, South Carolina, and one is just north of where's the it's Marshall County, but I can never remember the name of the town.
Do you remember what there's no way you'll remember. We pass a dirt track every time we go to Bristol. And I mean I'm asking you for something between here and 300 miles from here, but there's one, it's on the right-hand side of the road up in I think it's in North Carolina. But there's no way to know. But
just spitballing here.
Yeah. That's one. Every time we go, it's like we got to go there. Amber, there's a question that there's a few questions that we keep asking either drivers or media people, and I always love this one. Is there ever something that you've forgotten going into a race and you went, oh crap, and had to race either without it or had to go back and get it or anything like that?
Okay, I'm very strict on my pre-race rituals, so I rarely forget important things. I probably have forgotten something minor, but nothing important. I have a very strict ritual that has to happen before every single race, so I don't forget things.
You know, I think the first time we asked that question was to Jeff Gluck, and he forgot pants. That was an actual thing.
I don't forget things like that.
I was going to say, I think we talked to somebody who forgot their fire suit.
Yeah.
Forget things like that.
Right?
It's kind of an important piece of the puzzle.
Well, see, that's the engineer mindset right there is what it is. You got your checklist, you got your things, you're ready to go. Sherwin, it's like what we do when we go to Bristol. And I'm not saying that we're engineer, that we have all this car stuff we got to take care of, but it's like, all right, we've got these basic essentials that we know we need. And everything else after that is, well, we can just buy it at Walmart if we got to.
Well, and down to and including pictures of when we best packed everything in your truck. Mm-hmm. So we're know what stuff needs to be where.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a few years ago. I think now we kind of got it down, at least with the stuff that we have.
So, Amber, we've got folks like Matt Kenseth, Joey Logano a few years ago. We've got Chase Elliott and Denny Hamlin that may be, brewing from this year. Are there any rivalries or paybacks during your? Oh, she's laughing. We know she's got one. Then you don't have to name names. You don't have to say people's names.
No, I won't.
But I would love, or you can say them. I mean, I don't care. I'm going to post whatever you say. But anything, this person did this, and therefore I did that.
Plenty. When you've been racing this long, plenty.
any that stand out.
The same people over and over again, and you have to race with them 10 weeks in a row. And yes, definitely. I'll leave it at that.
Okay, all right.
I got I got a question on the live YouTube I want to ask.
Okay.
Jojo F asks, Amber, what do you do when you have to sneeze during a race?
I don't think that's ever happened. Maybe it has. I don't recall that it's ever happened to me. So
I think you just sneeze and try to keep the.
I mean, I guess you don't
between
have
the
a
lines.
choice.
Yeah, what is it like? You close your eyes for like 0.4 of a second at 70 miles an hour. That's like 125 feet or something.
Yeah.
The difference in first and last place. So
Yep.
So you had a big win this past summer. Tell us about that.
yeah, that was really cool. It was my first Thursday Thunder win in Bandoleros or Legend Cars, and I have been racing in Atlanta. I think we had it figured up about 7 or 8 years. I don't even know if it's that long. So way too long for it to be my first win, but it was definitely a very exciting one. Definitely did not go by easy, but we got it done, and it was a big win for me personally. Like kind of that sign that I had conquered the track that everyone deems one of the hardest Legend Car racetracks.
Oh wow!
So I feel like I accomplished something.
So I didn't know that. What makes Atlanta one of the hardest tracks then in that case?
Flat
Mm-hmm.
and small.
Flat
That's
and
what does. So most people will tell you that if you can conquer Atlanta Motor Speedway in a Legend Car, you can conquer any racetrack in a Legend Car.
Is that something
Interesting.
is that something that since you kind of, racing wise grew up on that track, does it feel like that to you, or is it or do you go to other places and you're like, "Oh, I got this," or do you go to other places and you're like, "What? Banking? What do I do?"
I mean, like you said, I have grown up at that racetrack. It's always been hard for me. I personally like the bigger racetracks better. They're faster, 1, and 2. Atlanta is a lot of like pure aggression because you do have a bumper and you are in close situations. So it is a lot of like bump and run. That's just not my personality. It's not my racing type. So not really well suited in that environment until you make me mad, and then I can do it. And so I prefer the racetracks where you literally just have to drive, but it has definitely kicked my butt for years. So if that says anything, yes, it's hard.
Last one I got on the list. Sherwin, you got another question for?
I don't know. Hold on. Did we write anything in there?
He's scrolling through some ish talk going on the YouTube there.
Oh, I think somebody. Hold on, just
no, it's all good.
Somebody said something they thought was would be a cute question to ask, and I use cute very caged. Would you ever intentionally? This is from the Orange Cone, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Would you ever intentionally spin out to cause a caution if you knew it would help you win the race?
I don't think so. I can't stand when people do that, so I don't know. I'm in a different perspective because I do race for a hobby, and it is not like a career and or is not going to get me anywhere greater in life. And I definitely don't think doing that is going to get you anywhere greater in life. But if I can't win fair and square, I don't really see the purpose in the win being worthwhile, me personally. So,
well, I'll say this.
Thank you for the honest answer.
Yeah, I'll say this. Whether you think it or not, this is getting you somewhere greater in life. I mean, you're on the PTM podcast, by the way. No, not that.
Now that we're on that, so yeah, we're getting closer to our mark on total time that we've consumed of yours. So I want to transcend into, or away from racing, I should say, and say, thus far, you got a semester to go. You got plenty of memories to make. Yeah, and another, 3 weeks of this semester plus holidays, but what would you say is your best experience at Georgia Tech?
Okay, so by far, shameless plug, but my favorite organization on Georgia Tech's campus is called For the Kids. I'm actually the executive director of that organization right now, and has by far given 10 times more meaning to Georgia Tech than anything else I've ever done at Georgia Tech. So we raise funds and awareness pretty much for Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, and work very closely with the hospital, with families, with kids, and has kind of given an extra purpose to a school that can literally tear you to shreds and really teach you how bad you are at everything. And so I I can't imagine doing Georgia Tech without that organization. I mean, plus plenty of other memories, but everything about that organization and the event we host in March, which is Dance Marathon we host every year, is a life-changing event by far.
Me and Sherman were talking before we even got on this thing. We're like, well, she's like president of her, I don't know if it's true or accurate, of her sorority. She's doing this thing that you just taught, not president, or active member, we'll say, and doing this thing, doing racing, all this other stuff. It's like, geez, if I was that involved back in college, I'd probably be successful now. So, definitely.
Well, I hope I'm successful in 10 years then.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that you only called it 10 years. I feel younger now. Tell the folks what you're up to this season and beyond. What's going on?
So this season is kind of just going to be a little bit hit and miss with finishing up school because definitely we'll put that first. So racing wise, it'll be kind of what we can hit. Definitely transitioning into full just hobby when it can happen, where it can happen, which is totally fine with me because if you're not having fun doing it, then it's not worth doing. So that's kind of how we see it around here at Fleeman Racing. And I'll just be finishing up school in May. So exciting things.
Excellent. So, Sherwin, we do have a question from the PETM posse. Mr. Mick Rose, like clockwork, asking questions to us. At Go, I went Go, like, you know what it is? It's Go Ducks, and there's something that rhymes with ducks that usually comes after the word go for me. Go.
Because we're not on the West Coast.
Right. At Go Ducks 42 _ Mick asks, are there any changes to stage and or playoff points that need to be made now that we've got a year's worth of data? Sherwin?
I think so. I would have to steal, or whatever game show we're on. I'm stealing different parts and pieces from the people that actually have raced or cover racing or are fans that we obviously have a lot of respect for, and saying, I think they did a really good job with what they're doing on the stage points, but maybe the length of the stages is not. I don't know. Maybe the first and the second don't need to be the same, and we have to be careful in the truck series that if we're going to value pit crew development, they have to be doing caution lap pit stops and green flag pit stops. So if we eliminate all the green flag stops, it's going to hinder pit crew development, and it's going to hinder driver development and learning how to get on pit road at 180 miles an hour.
Yeah, definitely still need green flag pit stops. So, yeah, totally all about that. Amber, your thoughts?
I think the way they have done it this year has been definitely added a cool dimension because I was just talking about this the other day with someone about how, especially at the championship race, you're racing for championship. Why would you not wait till the very, very end? Because pretty much it's going to be winner takes all. But adding these stages has made people compete. Because to me, that's the difference in short track racing and longer track racing is it's high intensity all the time. And that's a little bit of what NASCAR has been missing. So I think adding the stages was a great way to get drivers to be motivated to race all the time instead of just at the end.
Mm-hmm.
I 100%.
Oh, there's
we'll
a drinking word.
We'll go back to the drinking phrase. I totally agree. I think it's also added back the element that may have been missing for the old school fan base, that every single race actually matters because you can accumulate enough points that allow you to transcend the playoffs, even if you have one of those weird things that, unfortunately for Kyle Larson, prevented him from being in Miami with a chance to win it all, which we all expected based on how well he performed. So, I mean, of course it's on you. I mean, there's a lot of chatter about how I won't go into that. It doesn't matter. I think the stages have been great. I think they probably could tweak, and they probably will. But if they didn't, I think by and large it was a great change for NASCAR.
Yeah. So my thoughts is, and the way that Mick wrote it was, now that we've got a year's worth of data. Well, what has this data told us? First off, as far as a champion goes, the right person was crowned champion. The best driver this season, the best car this season, etc. There's obviously some wiggle room there in terms of still had to win that last race, still had to do that, but the right person in terms of who should have won the championship this year won the championship. I think there was a surprise in terms of, if you think about playoffs, you want the right person. Playoffs. You want the right person to win. You want you enjoy that there are surprises in there. Why do we fill out March Madness brackets every year? To see who can call the best surprises.
Right.
We had the surprise with Kyle Larson. That was surprising. Whether that, if you're a Kyle Larson fan, obviously that's an issue. But I think we had our surprises. We had the right people win. And frankly, I don't know if I speak for everybody, but I'm kind of tired of us changing our format every year. Let's let this ride. Let it ride one year.
Well,
see what happens.
And to your point on that, and then I want to let Amber weigh in on this. But to your point on that. We've had 4 years of this crazy, we show up at Homestead with only 4 cars eligible to win the championship.
Mm-hmm.
The winner of the championship has won the race. And that, to me, is pretty special.
That's pretty
think
cool.
that fits what NASCAR wanted out of this model.
Mm-hmm.
Amber, your thoughts?
I think, yes, 100%. There you go.
Here we go. Dang it. I'm going to be drunk by the end of this.
Coming from someone who has been watching racing at a local level for many, many, many years, that's something that NASCAR had gotten away. The phrase that I was so tired of hearing is, "Oh, it was a good points day for us." That phrase is not necessary. That is not what racing was built on. That's not what racing is about. We race to win races. We don't race to points race. And as soon as you get out of that mentality of winning races, is when you lose a driver and you get this robot inside of a race car that's just trying to do as well as they needed to get points. And I think that mentality that we've got to, if I don't win this race, one of the other three is going to, makes for a better show, it makes for better racers, and it makes to make sure that the best racer and best driver wins the championship at the end, is my opinion.
That is a fantastic comment. And I think I got a chance today to take some time to watch some of the shows they've been playing this week and watch some of the recaps, particularly some of the radioactive type stuff and with film. And you remember those races where Kyle Busch, he seemingly spun out on every lap, and Jimmy Johnson seemingly had a race where he just could not keep the car underneath him. Those guys are letting you know that they're driving that car just absolutely as fast as it can go. They're the best drivers in the world in a stock car, and even they can't control it because they're trying their best to make sure they have a chance to win the championship.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we didn't see that as much as Homestead, but we saw that leading in, that's what we want out of the chase. When you see Kyle Busch or Jimmy Johnson spin a car out, that's because that car is handling evil.
Mm-hmm. I've been guilty. Whether I'm calling it guilt or not, but I've been skeptical of this format before in terms of, I didn't hate points racing, or I didn't hate it, it was okay for this. But, Amber just rang the bell right there, and that is a soundbite that deserves all the props in the world, and maybe I'll put it out there as something. That was a fantastic soapbox, from a racer, and I love that perspective. That's so cool. The one thing I would change, and we've said it since the beginning of this season, is that time that's between the stages that, we have to interview the person, and now we're 9 laps into the next stage while we're still going.
Oh, as Spotter Brett said on Door Bumper Clear this week, we run up 10% of that second stage before we even go green.
Right. So they need to fix that, and if they fix that, I say leave the rest alone this year. Let's let it ride. Let's see what happens.
The minor change be that the stop time between stage 1 and stage 2 and stage 2 and stage 3 be uncounted laps, and let the teams be teams and figure out fuel, because they're certainly not tearing up their tires running 55 miles an hour.
Yeah, that works for me. There's plenty of series that have the uncounted laps. Why
K&N has a ton of races they run where they just have a halftime.
Yep. Yeah, so there it is. We're gassing it up now. We don't have a race next week, or for the next 11 weeks or whatever it is.
Do we have a soundbite?
Oh, man, you need the soundbite for the gassing it up. Let's do that. Let's bring it in. And I'm just, delaying here until we get it.
This is how amateur hour this is, but it's fun. That's to me, it's
how we do it. So we got a cool announcement for Roush Fenway. So go ahead, Sherwin. Take this one.
Oh, yeah. So everybody wanted this to happen, so it's going to happen, and Roush made it happen because we were worried about. We talked about BKR going away next year, and there's several guys that were driving for them that were maybe not going to have a chance to drive a car next year, and so the Roush announced they're going to do a development car with Austin Cindric, Chase Briscoe, and Ty Majeski. They're going to share a Xfinity ride at Roush, and I think that's a really smart move.
Yeah,
especially
cool.
to align with the way Toyota has been doing driver development. Ford has really gotten behind on driver development. I think that's why we saw it take so long for Bubba to get to where he is now. And he may not even be a Ford driver moving on. We don't know yet.
Yep.
We've heard some rumors. Lots of people have been talking about that. We won't know until that's announced. But I think Roush maybe is recognizing where they had some misgivings in driver development. It's a big part of racing because you also have to develop crew chiefs and you have to develop teams, just like we talked about with green flag pit stops are a necessary process for the National Touring Series because the driver has to learn how to do them and the pit crew has to learn how to receive them.
Mm-hmm. Amber, what are your thoughts on like some developmental stuff going on and how we can improve that in the series?
I think this kind of goes back a little bit to our conversation earlier about like what how NASCAR and racing in general is going, and it's going a lot more towards this technology and all this stuff. And I think the way they're developing drivers on and off the racetrack is extremely important. This is a little bit of an aside and not 100% relevant, but like watching how some of these teams take the time to develop their drivers off the racetrack and who they are as a person and as a person in the spotlight is important. And paying attention to who is the best at that and who is the best representation of the organization, I think is important. In addition to, driver development. So on the racetrack, all of these different programs that they have pulling drivers in and making sure that they're making the best overall decision for their team, for their drivers, and for the kids involved. And I say kids because they're mostly kids these days, but and I think they're doing a great job. And I'm really excited to see. I enjoy watching all the new drivers come through, and again, half of them I've raced with, which is pretty cool. Makes me feel old, but it's fun.
What's your favorite series to watch, like as a fan?
As far as like one of the three NASCARs?
Anything.
Oh, shoot. Okay, so I am biased I love open wheel modified cars. Don't know why. Always have. I love them. I enjoy watching them. I enjoy watching them in person. So I enjoy watching those, and it's also like totally different type of racing than I've ever done.
Yeah.
So I am very biased, but I love them.
Open wheel super mods or big block mods. The Yunkers, who we've we've maintained a great relationship with. Switched from the ARCA Truck series when it evaporated to super mods, and it sounds like they're actually going to a super late model now. They've changed again, but we got to see the big block open wheel mods at Eldora on the Tuesday night before the truck race there, and that was cool.
They're cool cars just to look at, and then they're even cooler to watch race. So
ton of power, like a ridiculous amount of power.
That brings us to the end of this whole deal. Stranger Stang, Ashley J. Stang, sends us an off-the-wall question every week. And by the way, she referred to us as the we'll call it for the sake of the PG-13 rating, the crappiest NASCAR podcast on the internet. But we handed that title off last time we had Orange
I thought
Cone.
we did pass it
right.
over.
So that's been passed on. So we're the second crappiest until our friends over at Lap Traffic.
Well, I saw Brandon had jumped on the YouTube there, so they've finished recording their Lap Traffic episode 48, and he's now watching what we're doing over here.
Wow, episode 48.
Brandon, by the way, if you didn't know, the Cone handed you the trophy.
Right. This is all
podcast on the internet.
Right. So it sounds like it's based on whoever has him on the most recent.
Oh, I'm sure. There's an ego piece of the puzzle there. I think.
No. So that's perfect. We will hand that trophy back and forth. Maybe we need to mail each other something. That would be funny.
Well, I think that would
be good, and we have to put it up behind us or something.
And it has to be heavy too. It has to cost about
$30
$30 to ship back and forth.
A little unwieldy would be
I'm going
perfect.
to go to a trophy shop and have it made. I'm doing it. It's happening.
Do it. I love it. I love it. So, Ashley asks us, have we changed our stance on if a hot dog is a sandwich? Well, let's start here. Amber, is a hot dog a sandwich?
No.
Thank you.
Thank God.
Thank you. Okay. We have not changed our stance on whether a hot dog is a sandwich. Thank you very much. And what's your stance on burritos? A burrito's a burrito, babe.
Burritos are good.
Burrito is no, not a sandwich.
Yeah, no, I mean
Not a sandwich, but I didn't know if that was like certainly not sandwich status. But are they good, bad, and different? What do we like? Burrito bowls, burrito not bowls?
I don't know.
I guess we just have to consider whether or not it's a sandwich, and the answer to that is 100% no.
If I order a sandwich and you give me a burrito, I'm
punching somebody in the face.
I'm going to send it back and I'm going to hit you in the face. That's what's going to happen. Amber, thank you for being on the second crappiest podcast or NASCAR podcast on the internet here. I've had an absolute blast. This has been everything I wanted and more in talking with you.
Oh, we have one last question.
We do have one last question, Sherwin.
What is the good word?
The hell with Georgia.
There you go.
Atta-way. So, apologies, but not apologies to all our...
Piss on them!
all of our...
I was just about to say, how about them dogs?
Right. So, we'll... for now, for 1 week out of the year, y'all got to give us that, because, I mean... Truth be
we're
told,
not trying to piss anybody off that's a Georgia fan that loves racing, because we love racing enough that we can separate those.
Clean old-fashioned hate. That's
Clean
right.
old-fashioned hate, right. There's a great book. Somebody really profound wrote it. Furman Bisher, I think, used to write for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution.
So we got it coming up. We're excited. We're going to be there. Amber's going to be there. Really cool. So let's go ahead and close this out. Amber, tell everybody where they can find you, what you're up to, where you're at on the internet, and any closing comments.
You can find me at Instagram, Twitter, Amber Fleeman 98, and at Georgia Tech, probably in the library studying. But...
I love it. Well, Amber, hang on the line with us for a little bit. We're going to close this thing out. And with that, y'all know where to find us, as always. And what I'm doing is trying to stall.
You're trying to get me to start talking.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, yeah, you can find Rusty at Tailgate Mayor on the Twitter. You can find me at Pregame Engineer on the Twitter, at Andrew L. Sherwin on the Instagram. You can find the podcast at PTM Podcast on Instagram. Rusty.
I mean, it's Instagram, it's Twitter, it's PTMpodcast.com. Y'all know where to go.
Just Google that stuff.
As always, it's been a blast, y'all. We'll catch y'all next week doing something. We'll have somebody on. We've got a hell of an off-season for you.
Yeah, I got a list.
Be sure to tune in.
I got a list.
We got a list. All right. Y'all be good. We'll talk to you next week. Woo! There we go. All done. Had to do the little outro there thing. Amber, thank you so much for being on.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, I hope you had some fun or laughter or something along the way. Somebody said on the YouTube, can she see you two rocking out? Because as we're playing our outro song, we just kind of play the electric guitar or the air guitar and the air drums and all the rest of it. So, Ashley Stang, peace out. Eat a shit burrito. Thank you, Ashley.
Yeah, that's the way she works.
It's good to have you on, Ashley, as always. What a blast. Anyway, I'm going to shut down the YouTube at this point, and thank y'all for joining. It has been a blast, as always. Sherman?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, if your racing process for next summer materializes to where you get to race a lot, I think we'd absolutely love to come back down to Atlanta Motor Speedway and watch you race.
Cool. Come on.
Yeah, that'd be
But
fun.
we may have to show up a little bit earlier so we can do like an in the garage podcast instead of just a 10-minute or a 5-minute interview or whatever
Yeah.
it was we did last time.
Yeah,
That
how
was
much fun.
super fun.
Folks on YouTube, thank you for joining. We'll talk to y'all later. And